So when Casual Connect asked me to do a presentation at 4 o'clock on the second day of Casual Connect, I said I would do it under two conditions. One is that we could talk about the #1 question that game developers ask me, which is, how do I get my game reviewed? And two, that I could do the shortest presentation that anyone's going to see here at Casual Connect, so we can all go out and go drinking sooner than later. So I'm basically going to tell you how to get game reviews in 15 minutes or less, and I'm going to pose that question of whether reviews are important in this digital post-retail age that we live in today. So why am I an expert on this? Well, I run GameZebo.com. We're a leading social, mobile, and casual game review site focused on reviewing iPhone, iPad, Android, Google+, PC, and Mac games. We have about 2 million users and 6 million page views per month. We just launched our own app, the Wanna Play app, which is a game preview app where users can see previews of upcoming games, add them to their wish list, and then be notified when the game comes out. So we actually have created an app ourselves. So we've been on your side. Since we started the site about 7 years ago, I looked at the numbers this morning. We've covered 7,000 games. And we do about 125 games that we cover with reviews and previews per month. And we get thousands of game submissions. So I see all those game submissions go to my email, so I know what gets my and my editor's attention. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to first just kind of like go and show examples of what not to do with real-life examples where I cross out the names. So the #1 thing, faux pas, that you shouldn't do when you're trying to get a game review is bribery. I know in some parts of the world, it actually makes sense to offer to pay for a review, but at least in the North American market, some journalists have editorial integrity, and they find it insulting. So #1 thing, do not ask how much it costs to pay to review your game. You could see on this example I have here, you can see another thing here too that you may not want to do. Can anyone see it? Yes? What's that? No. Anyone see it? But yes, to whom it may concern really pisses me off too, so don't do that if you're going to write to me. No, don't have your email name be sodomist at something. See? See? Haha. So I basically went through all my emails looking for examples, and when I saw that, I was like, double win. Okay, second thing you shouldn't do, not enough details. In this example, literally, the only thing I crossed out was the URL, new iTunes game app now available in the App Store. Be sure to tell us what the name of your app is. More information is better than too little information. The #3 thing you shouldn't do, don't be tardy to the party, which is basically don't be late. It's better to email game review sites before the game comes out than after. In this example, it's a game that's Easter themed, and this was actually sent 3 weeks after Easter happened. So if you like doing a Santa app and emailing us in January. So, fourth thing, language. And this isn't, I'm not saying, hey, you should like send out emails only in English. Know your website. If it's an English-based website, email us in English. If it's a Chinese-based website, do it in Chinese. Lots of good translation websites out there that will help you. But the fact is, you're getting hundreds of emails a day. You're not going to try to like, read what, some different language. You'll see this and you're going to toss this out. So those are examples of what not to do. Here's a tip sheet of what you should do. #1, get to know your writers and reviewers. This is the easiest thing that you can do. Every website has their own goals, They have their own tone. They have their own culture. And every writer and reviewer has that too. There are some writers who only like doing puzzle games. Some writers only are good at doing strategy games. And it's really easy to tell by going to a website and seeing that. I'll tell you for GameZebo, because we have the Want to Play app, we really like game previews, right? So like if you want to like be smart with GameZebo, you'll see twice as many game previews than any other site that's reviewing mobile and social games. And we don't like to play them, actually. You know? We just want you to send in information, screenshots, and all that. So it's easy to ask us what we want, but it's also, you know, you could really figure that stuff out. You know, if anyone's ever looked at my writing, you could see like what things are interesting to me. I like writing about, right now I like writing about casino games. You know? So it's like, you know, if you were to like, email me, you would say, hey, Joel, I've got a casino game. Or you'd say, hey, I've got some kid education title because, you know, I see that you've written some blog posts about having a kid. So just know who you're writing to. Number two, it's way better to provide too much information than too little. You know, give us name of the game, game information, screenshots. You know, send us a link, a Dropbox link, or you know, or any cloud-based site. If you have video, send it to us. It could be in YouTube or it could be original video. And you know, once the game comes out, give us review codes or credits, or just you know, make it really easy to review the game. You know, depending on whether it's for pay or it's a free-to-play game. Definitely, you could send. It makes sense to send. I think game sites pre-launch a couple weeks or a month before to say, hey, this is coming out. And again, with GameZebo, we like previews. But you know, it just gets people like top of mind, and they know, hey, this is coming out with some screenshots. And if the game site doesn't review your game, and they may not, it's fine to do a follow-up, you know, with links to reviews from other sites, because we're a bunch of sheep. So, you know, if I see the game's been reviewed on Touch Arcade, then I will copy them. Not copy the review, but I will follow them. You know, testimonials, and if you have like a really big update, you know, like this game is completely different 3 months from now, it's totally fine sending us an email about that. So let's go into like the other questions that game sites ask me. So, should I hire a PR firm? You know, as I say in the words of the Smiths, some PR firms are better than others. That's not the name of the song, but I've always wanted to put a picture of Morrissey in the presentation, and I had the opportunity here. The deal with public relations firms is, it really is, some of them are awesome, and some of them suck so bad. It's really easy to figure out, you know, what it is. If you get a PR firm and they're really intent on sending form letters to like hundreds of thousands of sites, that's not a good thing. I don't want to see that. If you're talking to a PR firm and like they say to you, you know what, we think you should, you know, email these 10 sites and these are the 10 people we want to talk to and here's the pitch, you know, to come up with something personalized, that's a good PR firm, and it may be useful to do that. The best way to find a good PR firm, if you're friends, you know, or have a relationship with any writers at a site, ask them, because they see all the pitches, so they'll know. And, you know, don't lock yourself into a very long contract, you know, because you'll kind of figure out within a month or two if it's a good PR firm or not. Next question, should I buy ads? The answer is yes, of course. Give me all your money. I want it. As I said before, there is no bribery. There's no quid pro quo. But, you know, what I always tell developers is, you know, help, you know, support the ecosystem. I just had a discussion with a very big social mobile game company in the Bay Area just last week. And he was asking me, why is it that, you know, sites like GameSpot and IGN don't review, like, you know, these type of games? And my answer was, well, EA and Activision spend advertising money on those sites, and you have a $1 billion budget a year, don't. So, I mean, if you're looking to like buy ads and you're thinking just strictly ROI, I'll be the first to admit you're always going to get a better ROI if you're buying an ad on this phone. But you know, if you do have the extra money, like, you know, just throw a couple dollars to like game review sites. It's like totally appreciated. If you don't have the money, and I'm guessing, you know, a lot of people in this room may not, then you can support editorial sites in many different ways. You know, when they do a review, post it on Twitter. You know, follow them on Twitter. Post to Facebook. You know, link out to them from your site. You know, because that's good for SEO. if it's a really good review, put a snippet into the iTunes description, or offer like contest giveaways. The small little things that game companies do that I know I personally take note of. And when I see someone even just do a small thing, like to tweet a review or something we've done, I always remember that in my mind, that this is a game company that's like, it's like help me help you. They're helping me, and I'm helping them. Because there's a lot of value I know that an editorial site's giving to a game company to review the game. So any little thing that you can do, it's totally appreciated. And I'll just say my personal biggest pet peeve is whenever I talk to a game developer that has paid a lot of money for a public relations firm, and then they ask me how much ads are, and then they come back and say, oh, we don't have an ad budget. Because I just look at that and I'm just like, well, you're spending $5,000 to $15,000 a month on PR. So it's like, throw a little money down to the game review sites that are actually reviewing the games. Next thing, should I care about reviews anymore? So this is going to be a little controversial since I run a review site. I don't think reviews aren't as important now as they were back in the day when there was a hardcore video game market and when it was all about selling games at the retail shelf. I'll just throw that out there. I admit that. The issues is that a lot of games are free to play. They're not $50 a shot. So, people can actually, if I have to pay $50 to play a game, I'm going to read like 10 reviews and make sure the game's good. But if I could just click and it's free, click, click, click. It's not as important. You also have on iTunes and Google Play and Facebook a really awesome user review system itself. So that's like a lot of like, validation that you can get with your potential users. And you also have social discovery now that you didn't have 5 years ago when it was just a retail physical channel world. So these are reasons why, like I'd say, like review sites aren't as important today as they were a couple years ago. So this is why you should care. The folks over at Apple, Google, Facebook, and your peers like publishers, they read review sites. And the reason is that you've got 550, 600,000 apps on iTunes, same amount on the Amazon store. Who knows what the number is on Facebook right now? Everyone needs a filter to help discover games themselves, and game review sites are one of the tools that they use to like really figure out what they want to feature within their stores. The second thing, it's obviously a great marketing tool. If you get your game reviewed and the review says one of those rare gems that manages to get everything right, then that's like a really good testimonial, and you could put that on your game description and in your brochure and in your email that you send to your mom, bragging. It's good feedback on how to improve a game. The people on my team seriously have review like 3 or 4 games a week. Like they see everything, right? So, and they're very straight up and honest. So I mean, you're getting honest feedback, non-biased feedback. So it's very valuable. And the way I kind of see it is that review sites not as important as they were a couple years ago, but it is one of the many tools that are in your tool chest to get discovered. And you definitely, when you're marking up your chest list of what you want to do, check, 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 definitely gotta put it in there. Okay, last question that people ask me: what if you get a bad review? I don't know how it is with other sites. I know that I'm totally cool if you want to complain about it. And there have been cases where, like, we did post a bad review, and someone personally came to me and complained and said, your site sucks, you just totally missed the game, and went and changed it. And an example of the game like this is Draw Something. Like, we originally gave that game 2 stars, and like one of the very rich people now there contacted me before he became wealthy. And he said, look, you missed the point because of ABC. And I went and I just played the game, and he was absolutely right, and I ended up firing that writer. and we reviewed the game again, and we gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. So if you got a legitimate case, absolutely, it's fine to complain. Don't complain if the review's valid. And again, another pet peeve I have is if you send us a buggy build, then don't complain if the review is bad and say, oh, it's because the build was bad. I mean, it's like we don't have time to review a game again and again and again and again, trying to run a business. Seriously see thousands of these games, so we just want to like get up there, boom, done, go to the next game. And what's next? I told you I did this in 15 minutes or less. If you want to get reviewed on GameZebo, contact us now, either at gamezebo.com or you can email me, joel@gamezebo.com. Very accessible. I'll get you in contact with the right people on my team. Contact all the other big sites as well. And the last piece of advice of like, what you need to do to get reviewed is just create a really kick-ass good game. It's like someone sends a game to us and it's not good, boom, goes to the trash pile. But when a good game comes in, and you can see it just by looking at a screenshot, we'll definitely take a look at anything that comes into us. We absolutely take a look at. Even if we don't write back because you don't have time to do it. Nothing doesn't get looked at. So that's it. Instead of doing it in 15 minutes or less, we have 45 minutes. If you actually want to go and come up here and show me your game, sure, come up here and take a look and go from there. Dude, I'm a rock star. Yes, I want to play these games, look at them.
If there are any questions first, though, let's step to the microphone. As Joel, this is a rare opportunity to speak with the man behind GameZebo.
It's not that rare, but I speak at events, but usually not for free. So.
Would you just say in general that if you email a review site and they ask for payment, that's not a legitimate review site?
You know what? I'm not going to say that because it's, to a degree, it's cultural. I was just reading a really good article in the New York Times about a month ago, and it wasn't about games, but it was talking about how PR firms like Ogilvy and it was talking about fashion brands, how they are, paying blog and review sites in China in order to do those reviews, and it's honestly just a cultural thing. I think if you asked I'm not saying all review sites are like this in China, but I think culturally speaking, there's a little bit more of a history of that happening from what I see in some countries like China, but in a country like in the United States, it's pretty much a bad thing. I mean, it's honestly, I run this site, so sure if you want if you want to offer me a bribe. No, I'm joking. It really comes down to at least in North America, I think because of such a strong culture of the free press, that you actually end up insulting a lot of journalists, and yeah, I mean and generally speaking, I would say if someone's asking you to pay for a review, then it's probably it's something I wouldn't do. It's interesting, there was once an idea that was I actually had, and I saw other sites doing it, and it came from my days working at Yahoo. And when I was at Yahoo, back when Yahoo was cool, 10 years ago, there was an option to pay for inclusion within their search engine, and I actually had the idea of you know what, we get hundreds of these submissions a week, why don't we just say to people, look, hey, if you want to go to the top of the queue, pay us. I literally asked that to my editors because I was thinking as a business guy and my experience with Yahoo. And basically what I determined after 5 minutes was that my entire staff would quit. So we don't do it. But yeah, I think a lot of journalists think, by the way, that if you do offer to pay for a review, that means your game sucks. They'll assume that it sucks and they shouldn't look at it. Any other questions?
Hi, good afternoon. When I used to do reviews for Game Magazine, we usually only covered really big titles like the AAA publishers from EA, from Ubisoft, etc. But now the zeitgeist seems to be game review sites are doing indie games all over. How long do you think that'll last, and do you think it's going to be a cycle where they're going to go back to the big name games and feature them more predominantly? Thanks.
I think that, I mean, it just really depends on the site. Like, you know, here's what you have to know about game journalists, just in my opinion. There are a bunch of different types, right? There's those who like just are in it because they want to write reviews, and they're going to just have like, they're going to be just non-biased on any game that comes in, whether it's from a big publisher or if it's any game. They're game journalists that wish that they can design the games themselves, but they have no coding experience. And those are probably the guys who are going to like have a bias toward indies because they want to be indie. And then those are pretty much the two types of game writers out there. So you know what? I honestly believe that you know, that there is like I wouldn't say a bias toward indie games, but there is a little bit of cred around indie games right now. And I think I think the cycle's not going to end. You know, it's just the nature of like what the distribution channels, whether it's iTunes or Google, you know, because there is that ability for anyone to like go in and submit a game without a publisher and to contact any game developer, and you have low barriers to entry in terms of development compared to the way it was 5 years ago with like $10, $15 million budgets. You know, I think that you're just going to see, you know, people look at both like games from like high-profile publishers and on the indie side. I know on our end, like, you know, we have a bunch of tags that we give to different games, and, you know, one of the tags is indie. So we do that, and we feature a Kickstarter project every week because, you know, I guess we're in the same boat, right? We just want to be cool and have street cred. Find the next mine. You know, just find the next big like hit indie game. So.
Anybody else?
I would like to know when you give a bad review about a game and you found that there are no good stuff on a game, are you write it anyway in the Game Zero or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering that are you getting angry developers? How to handle them?
Usually I don't speak at events like this, and I stay in hiding. But yeah, I mean, look, you know, we piss off. I mean, if you're a good web review site, you're going to have as many people send you emails and say, hey, you guys are rock stars, we love you, you gave us a 5-star review, as well as people writing in and saying, you know, you guys suck, like you totally didn't get the game, or you know, the best is your reviewer didn't play my game. You know, when we started, I'll say this, when we started 6, 7 years ago, one of the jokes that people in the industry had about us was that every game review we did was 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. And they'd always keep saying that, because it would seem like we were trying to be a little bit too nice, because we were covering casual games. And I thought it was kind of a funny joke, until I went and looked at the reviews over a 3-month period of time. And every game was a 3.5 to 4-star game. So, so I asked my editor, and I was like, why are you not trashing games? And she was like, I don't want to be mean. And I was like, no. It's like, I want to see a 1-star game on my site now, you know? Like, I don't care. Even if it's a really good game, I make it up. You know, say this is the worst, stupidest game of all human history, because you need to have street cred, right? If all you see are a bunch of reviews, even as game developers, right? If you just went to my site or any site, and you just saw 4-star, 5-star, 4-star, 5-star, like, would it really mean anything if I gave your game a 4 or 5 stars? The answer is no. And you'd be like, it's not legitimate. So I actually think there's a lot of value reviewing games that suck. You know? You know, it's like not all games are good, and you know, the way you know if you're working with a good review site is if there's an equal chance of getting a good review as there is of getting a bad review. And again, if hey, you know what? Like, we make mistakes. I'm really serious when I say, like, you know, we've gone back and we've changed reviews based on developers coming back and saying, hey, you didn't do a good job. And then what I end up doing is looking at other reviews that writer has written to make sure that, you know, he's actually playing the games and getting things, you know? Like, I literally did that after that Draw Something review. And my conclusion I had, I mean, I'll give you an example for that review. It was totally our bad. Like, we my conclusion I had is he only played the game for half an hour, and that he didn't play the games playing against his friends, that he only played the game playing against random people. Because his whole complaint on that game was that it was such a bad experience when you're playing it with random people. And my whole experience was I was playing it with my friends, and it was just the funnest game ever, you know, until I stopped playing it 2 weeks after. So, you know what I mean? It's you know, if we give it a bad review, it's totally legitimate to come back to us, you know? So, but I mean, my big advice is, I mean, seriously, like if your game's buggy, don't send it in, because you're not going to get a second review. That's so annoying. You know, it's like, you know, my game, you know, it's like, oh, I gave you the wrong version. So when you say it's a con, it's buggy. It's like, you know, I don't want to spend money and time doing your game again and again and again and again. Just give me the game when it's final and done. It's not that hard. And yeah, I mean, if you feel confident, like your game's ready to be released, you know, then you should be full confident that it's ready to be reviewed. So, any other questions? I feel like the Q&A section is more than my presentation. That's either really cool or it's really sad. Oh, thank you. It's a nice wink. Yes.
So my question really is about freemium games and reviews.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they seem to gross a lot more and review a lot worse, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Broadly, what's your attitude to this? We've got a $1 game that's just come out and a free game that's come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's a really good question. So, and the truth is, a lot of review games don't review freemium, free-to-play games. So I'll tell you our experience. 2 years ago, we started as a casual game site, focused on PC casual games. 6, 7 years ago, when no one else was doing it, you know. And the reason we started is because I'd been working at Yahoo. I left there, and you know, I noticed that every time I saw a review on GameSpot or IGN about Bejeweled, the review would be like, you know, this is the stupidest, dumbest game I've ever played in my life, but oh, I'm so addicted, ha ha ha. And I was like, that's so insulting. Let's actually review the games, you know, and appeal to the audience and treat them as works of art versus as like stupid, in the words of this New York Times article that just came out like last week, a couple weeks ago, stupid games. So as casual games became this primary, you know, driver on these new platforms like Facebook and iPhone and Android, you know, we had to make the move to like, you know, cover those games as well. And when we did that, redesign a database, redesign how we're setting things up. And the one thing we didn't redesign is like how we did our editorial guidelines. So what ended up happening when we did Facebook games, you know, which are all freemium, is all those games got a really bad review, like 2 stars out of 5 when the games came out. And it's because what we kind of figured out quickly is that a lot of freemium games, when they're released, are actually coming out in beta. You know, you're just trying to get the game out there and, you know, trying to get feedback. And it's like there's a story and development arc to it. So we, you know, immediately scrambled and tried to figure out how we're going to review those games. So like what we ended up doing was saying, okay, we still want to report when the game comes out because, quite frankly, it's good for SEO. So we actually would do a first look preview when the game came out and not score the game, you know, because we're like, no, we'll wait 3 months to score this game, but we're going to write about it because people can play it right now, right? And then, you know, it was like 2, 3 months down the line that we'd go and we'd review the game, you know. So that was something that we would do. Other things we did is, you know, we added an update feature to our site where we could do multiple reviews on the game. So the game comes out, and then 3 months later, review it again. 3 months later, review it again, and have a table of contents on the side. Really good in theory, yeah, but in practice, if you have thousands of freemium games out there, it doesn't scale. So that was kind of, you know what I mean, it's just like we're kind of learning to do this just like you are. I think we've worked harder to figure out how to cover these games, and we cover probably as much or more freemium games than anyone else out there. And even we find it to be really challenging how to deal with like all the updates and all the changes, because really, like when, you know, we get an email that says we got a huge update, I mean, yeah, that game's completely different than maybe how we reviewed it 6 months ago. So it's just like a learning curve and an evolving type of thing. I think a lot of game sites, you know, the game sites that don't do review free-to-play freemium games, based on, you know, talking to people, they're not doing it because, one, it's really hard to do because of what I just explained, and two, there's some sites that are so indie that they actually find it like beneath them to review these games. I've heard this feedback about other sites, and you know, it's like it's an attitude that I don't have because you know, I think of the words. There was this developer, and he wrote this awesome blog post, and it was so awesome that we posted on GameZebo. And he was talking about this conference he went to, and someone asked him the question, "What do you think about freemium games?" And his answer was, "Who cares how I think? It's what the customer, it's what the players think." You know, and that's kind of the attitude at least that we have at GameZebo, and hopefully a lot of other review sites will kind of have that attitude too. You know, if millions of people think these are games and they're playing these games, then yeah, we have to cover them as again, as work of arts versus as things that are beneath us. Yes?
So some games are designed for a special category, like very young kids or very nerdy guy. You know, just basically, how do you make sure that the right category target user are reviewing the game?
Yeah, it's really easy. I mean, you just have, at least in our case, like we have tons of writers on staff, right? We have over 20, 25 writers. I mean, they're not sitting in the same room, right? I mean, it's, you know.
But how do you get to decide who's going to cover this one?
Oh yeah, well we have it's again it's evolving, right? So until like maybe 2 months ago, the way we would set it up is we had 3 editors. One was for social games, one was for mobile games, one for downloads. Then the problem with that is that what you do with social and mobile games, right? It's like So now we just have one editor in chief, goes directly to him. And if you ever want to write him, he's the guy to write to, not me, Jim@gamezebo.com. And he decides like who he's going to assign that game to. And in our case, it's like, the classic example is this game called Slingo, right? And this game is like now it's really big on Zynga, because Zynga's doing like, you know, they've done a Facebook version of Slingo. But it honestly is the most acquired taste game in the history of all games. If you give that game to a reviewer that hates Slingo, it's like, psh, it's horrible. It's going to be the worst review ever. But if you give it to someone who likes bingo and slot games, then yeah, you're going to get like a real accurate review. And there's been 20 versions of Slingo, and I think the same writer has written all those, you know, same 1 or 2 writers have written a bunch of those reviews on GameZebo over the past couple years, because that's a person who's played this game so many times, they really like it, and they're going to have an honest opinion of whether the PC version or the Blitz version or the Zynga version is better or not. So it's like, at least in our case, we specialize. You know what I mean? It's like, I know, like, there are some people, you know, someone has a kid, boom, they get the education game. You know, someone's really into, like, you know, Japanese-style games, you know, we'll give it to that person. And, you know, I mean, I'll confess, the reason I'm here is because my goal is to find writers out here in the Asian market, because I want to cover games out here better. So it's like, we're always trying to, like, specialize and, you know, find the right person for the right game, you know? The worst thing you can do is give a writer a game that they're not interested in, because then you are going to get a biased review, and then I'll get an angry developer email, and I have to hide. So.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Second for the most questions today.
Yes.